Okay, hi. This is just a quick recording for the staff at William Dean for those who missed the presentation to do with Oliver recently on Monday. And it's also just a guide so you can come back to this if you are unsure how to use the catalogue anytime that we have now. So the first thing that you need to know is the new essential app that you will need to download is the Oliver My School Library. The old one looked like a book and it said My Library, so you can actually delete that now if you have that in your portal, and you'll need to download this one, which is really easy just by going to the Add More here, and it pops down and then you should be able to drag it straight up. So just open that straight up once you've got it. And this is going to be your homepage that you'll open first. Something to note is when you're logged in, you'll see obviously your name. What you won't see are these three icons. This is due to me having administration access. What you will see is one icon here, which is called Orbit. There are two versions of Oliver. This one, which is for staff and I use for library monitors and shadow monitors in the library. And it's the other version, which is Orbit, looks like this. So it's much more kid-friendly and it has settings that can be changed, the background, avatar settings, but it works in the exact same way with functionality. It's just that it's a little bit more user-friendly and pretty. So you can feel free to use this one if you'd like to. You can use Orbit or Oliver. It's up to you, but it works very much in a similar way. So if we just leave Orbit there, the first thing I want you to do is you would go over to My Library, and I just want to show you where you can actually see recordings of your loans. So here I can see all of my current loans that I have. I can see their due date, and I can also have the ability to renew any of them as well by clicking on the icon here. Another feature that you can see is loan history. So by clicking on the loan history, it looks back to the last 2 years of anything that you've loaned in the library. So say, for example, that you're doing a unit and there was a particular book that you used for that unit around that time. So it gives you obviously a date period when you were doing it, and you can look through the titles that you had to remember what that was, which is a good feature. Of course, there's another the tab, which is the overdue loans, and it helps you just keep track of those. You can also see them in the current loans as well. So just going back to now the home page, there's a quick overview of that as well along the top to let you know what your current loans are. So it's a nice quick tracker. When you're doing a basic search on the home screen, just before we go into that, there are a few information boxes, you could say that they're called. They have other special names, but it's not worth going into that. One of them is new resources, which is really handy. By clicking on the link here, you can actually see this obviously changes over time, but these are all the newest resources that we've added to the catalogue. So with the arrows on the top here, it changes to the next screen. So for example, 11 to 20 of 62 items. And you can even see some of these newer resources which just came into the library, which to do with water safety, they're now in there. And a great feature that you can also see is that we have thumbnails now. A lot of these you can see the cover of the book. Some of them still are missing as they come through, or maybe they're older ones, but that's something that we can add. We can even take a photo of the book cover and just add the thumbnail if we can't find it online, if it doesn't already pop up for us when we add a resource. Okay, so another feature when you're on the other searches here is lists. So with the catalogue, we can actually now create specific lists to do with topics to make it easier for you when you're searching for resources. So say, for example, you're doing a unit, it's all about light and sound, which is one that I've had teachers come to me in the past. That's really hard to find fictional resources for that topic, and especially some other topics to do with science and technology, to find fictional resources that link to that, as some resources don't really provide in their subject in their Word, they usually have these Word snapshots of what the book covers in subjects. Sometimes it may not pick up that as a subject within the book, but you can see links to it. So what we can do is we can create our own lists. So for example, recently a teacher has asked me, what fictional books do we have to do with refugees and multiculturalism? So I started to create a list here, and I've pulled out any that I could think of just over the years that I've been reading and just doing a little bit of research and trying to find any fictional books that I think look at migration or refugees, and adding them to that list, because there are a lot of texts that are starting to come out looking at this topic. However, not all of them, especially some of our older ones, will list that as one of the topics, but it is something that's starting to come out in a lot of the shortlisted titles. Okay, so going back to the homepage, when you're doing a basic search, you, for example, if I just type in the word, let's say cat, it's an easy one, we can see that it's going to list, 100 items for me, and I've got the first 10. Things that I can quickly see which are an easy reference is the fact that I know which ones are available, which ones are on loan, they're on the shelf. And we can also see if they're a Premier's Reading Challenge book, which is a great feature. So, for example, here this shoe cat is a K to 2 because it's red. The green is a 3 to 4 Premier's Reading Challenge, and the purple is a 5 to 6. And just by putting your mouse over it, you can see that it highlights that information for me as well. If you are in class and you're doing the Premier's Reading Challenge, as before I was showing you in the lists, sorry, I'll just quickly jump back to that. There is actually a section to do with Premier's Reading Challenge here. By clicking on the plus, you can see by just clicking on all the books in, say, 3 to 4, it'll show me everything that we have in the library that you can look at that's in the 3 to 4 Premier's Reading Challenge list. And then you can go ahead and pick those books. So that's just a nice handy tip as well. Okay, so back to, where I was. Okay, another feature that some of the books have is this Google Preview. So by clicking on the Google Preview, it takes you to a link to it opens up another window on your internet, and it allows you to get a preview of that title. So if I click here, I've opened up another window, and straight away it's got Google Books, and it's now showing me a quick preview of maybe the first few pages or the first chapter of that book. And that's a great way to introduce a story, maybe perhaps in class, or you could read that first chapter and then the students have to do a prediction, and it's not blocked. So if you were having them work independently with laptops in class, they could access that as well, that link. So none of them are blocked that I know of, and if they are, please let me know. Right, so when we click on an item, it opens it up, gives us a little bit more information about the publication. It gives us an abstract as well about the book. These are always good to look for. And it sometimes it will also give you a review. So I've got some other books that I know of that I'll show you in a moment where you can actually see reviews. Another feature that you can do with these icons down the side is that you can make your own reservations. So for example, if you have a staff member, or not a staff member, let's say a book that's constantly loaned out, it's really popular and you just really need it for, next term, or maybe the kids are borrowing it constantly, it's at home and you want to make sure you're securing it for your topic that you need, you can actually click on this and it will make the reservation for that book, and it will just pop up with first available, and you'll click save. So if I click on that, you can see first available, and I must click on the save icon. Otherwise, if you don't do that, it's not really going to save it. So click on that save icon, and then it automatically saves there, sends me a notice, and then I can see that you've reserved it and it can't be loaned or renewed by anyone else in the library. Okay, so go back. Some other features, as you can see, we have these carousels as well on the front now, and that they can be changed and edited at any time. It's just a easy way to show kids this is a topic that we're doing. So, for example, we're doing Australian author studies. Even though these are obviously targeted at younger grades, Stage 3 is looking at them in terms of their illustrators and their authors and the publication process, and making comparisons between them about problems and solutions. So if I look at, for example, Horrible Harriet, you can see that it does have a review. This is something you could do actually in class with students, maybe as a homework task, or maybe as, I don't know, an end of year term, end of term task, something like that. They can jump on a computer, log into their portal, and they can actually write their own review of a book that they've read, or maybe it's at the end of one of your reading groups as well. So you can see here, I've got one review for Horrible Harriet. It's by Tiana Rice, and she's just mentioned, you know, why she liked the book and who she thinks it would be suitable for as well. Which, you know, that's what we're trying to teach them, to say why you give a reason why you do or you don't like it, and who would you recommend it to. These are all obviously edited and approved before they're published by me. It sends it through. So for any mistakes. Okay, another feature that you can do is you can also email any links of a resource that you see that you like to other staff members, so say for a topic, or perhaps you want to email that link of this book to me and through the portal, and you can say, you know, I've been reading this picture book in my class. I think it has great use of adjectives. Maybe we should put a list for picture books that have great adjectives. Let's put that as a list on the catalogue, and there's one of the books that you can add to it. And so I'll start creating a list that has to do with, you know, that grammar feature, and which is something that is not going to be identified, you know, in the subjects here. So for them, like you can see here, the subjects that they've got listed is school students, and that's it. And there's so many other things that it looks at. It looks at, you know, behaviours between kids. It looks at acceptance. It looks at, you know, working together and accepting each other for our differences, this story. So there's so many more topics that you could use, but obviously they don't always include those. So by creating a list, we can identify those. And you can have one book could hit on multiple lists as well with multiple features. Okay. Another feature that I just want to show you is a different type of searching that you can do, which is called a federated search, where if I unclear all those, you can actually search other libraries or online resources when we have subscriptions to them. So right now we don't really have subscriptions to Britannica. However, you can actually search things like Henry Parkes Equity Centre. If you've never been there, it's a great place to go. Free resources. I think you can borrow up to 20 books for free, obviously, and saves you a lot of money than going and buying them if you're only using them for a term. So by clicking that one, and let's say I just type in cat again, and then it will show me all the resources in Henry Parkes Equity Centre that are to do with my topic that I'm currently teaching about cats. So not only have I done a search on cats in our school library, but now I'm also furthering that and expanding my information, my resources, by searching the Equity Centre as well. And they give you an orange tick because that just shows you that it's not within your library, it's outside. And when you click on the resource, unfortunately you can't reserve it from this site, but you can email it to a link to yourself. You can also print it, so then it's easy when you go in, and I'm pretty sure you can actually ring them up and they can reserve it for you over the phone if there's specific items that you want. Or you could email it to another staff member and said, hey, you know, you should pick this one up to do with our unit. Okay, so going back to just basic search. Another thing that you can do is that you can go into My Library Details. By scrolling to the bottom, they have a thing called a QR code. So if you're not familiar with QR codes, the way they work is that you usually use them by just scanning them, and it sends you to a link or a website and so forth, and it's just an easier way than typing the URL code in, like a barcode. What you need to do to use this is if you download on a mobile device a library link app, it's actually all the details of this step-by-step guide are in the handout that I gave you. Let me see if I can just grab that and I'll show you what that is if it's not on there. So this is the handout guide that was in the email. So you can see here, these are the step guides to using the app, and just downloading it, you're going to press on the scan code, and in the settings, go to settings down the bottom, which is, setup here. It looks like that one. You click on that. You go scan setup, scan code. So you would go back to your screen. That looks like this. Scan your QR code, and like I've done in the picture in step 3, and you do not require a password. So just press save, and then you can begin searching the actual catalogue on your phone. So if you're, for example, coming to school and it's a bit of a rush in the morning and you're looking for a resource, or you're just like, oh, I just really need a chit-chat lesson about something and I don't have time to go on the computer, find out where it is, you can't find me, just open the app on your phone and type in the item, and it will actually tell you where it is. So if you're unsure how to read where items are, so for example, if I go, I'll type in cat again because it's easy. You can see here that it says it's in Premier's Reading Challenge and it's in the D sections. I always teach students to go from the end backwards. So the last 3 letters that you see, the capital letters, that is the author's name. So it's going to be in the D's, as we can see, Mike Dumbleton. So in Premier's Reading Challenge on the shelves, which there's actually signs that say PRC in the green section there, you will go to D's and you will find that book there because it's available. So teacher's reference, which is obviously I'm showing you this because this is one that you use more often. So teacher's reference, and then you can see the numbers. So when you're on the shelves, you're looking in the 700, 797, and the numbers are on the spine label on the side of the book or just right at the top on the back of the book. So you'll see the numbers range. They obviously start from 0 and work their way through on the shelves in order. And you'll find these new resources, I think at the moment they're being covered, but these are brand new resources to do with water safety, and that's where they'll be located in the 700s, for example. If you need me to show you more about that app, just feel free to ask. It's really not hard to use, and it's a great tool to have if you're in a rush. Okay, so I think that's probably about it. I think I've covered everything. If there's anything that you need to ask me about and you're unsure, or you just need to show me you need me to show you on the computer, just feel free to ask.